Start the prayers. We start by setting the proper motivation by visualizing the three fields. In front of us, we visualize the refuge in the very field with the Shakyamuni and all of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And the Bodhicitta field surrounding us, including our divine parents. And the purpose of our doing this practice. Let's return to the page 3 of the prayer book. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Gami dukse neso me, Tava tamche pate che, Table shuni tunze me, Gautam deva chakse. Independent origination, there is no ceasing, no arising, no annihilation, no forming, no coming, no going, no separateness and no sameness. I prostrate to the consummate Buddha, the supreme among all teachers, the one who taught this peace, which is freed of the liberation. Gami tenche deva chum, Gapa mepa kilmepa, Chepa mepa tak mepa, Oma mepa tru mepa, Tade tunmin dunchi. Troipa deshi shitenpa, Sofre sange manam, Dhamma deva chakse. I proceed to the minds of the hearers, the Bodhisattvas and the Buddhas, who through the knowledge of all these hearers seeking pacification complete peace, who through the knowledge of paths causing those have been migrated to achieve the aims of the world, and who through the possession of conditions help subdue, expand, variety of teachings. Nendo Shiva Solam Kunse Niki Leshi Fize Kaginda Rola Pemba Chenam Lamshe Niki Chikin Dono Zepa Kanda Yanga Tempe Tugnam Namba Kunde Naso Disumpa Nendo Janju Sempe Soche Sange Tini Yundera Chatsen. The one who is transformed into the Renata guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings. The teacher is Suvata and protective to divine manifestation. Seva Yupa Tora Pinche Pa Tumpa Deshi Kyopra Chatse. The one who is eliminating the bed of conceptualization and is endowed with the divine bodies of the vast and the profound, who eternally shines forth the forever noble light rays through the Buddha and manifestations. Dote Dava Nansen Chi, Sapchin Geche Kumava, Kundu Jango Eseka, Kume Tora Chakse. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. By my inclinations to the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha. By my inclinations to the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha. By my inclinations to the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Samadhi Chodam Suti Chodam Pa, Jamshu Pati Dani Katsuchi, Dani Jinso Gipe Sodam Ki, Jola Kenche Sangye Chukarashu. Sangye Chodam Suti Chodam La, Jamshu Pati Dani Katsuchi, Dani Jinso Gipe Sodam Ki, Jola Kenche Sangye Chukarashu. Sangye Chodam Suti Chodam La, Jamshu Pati Dani Katsuchi, Dani Jinso Gipe Sodam Ki, Jola Kenche Sangye Chukarashu. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today the Buddha strengthens, I generate the mind to awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. Om Ye Karma Hito Prabhava Ye Tunte Shantaka Tesham chayo nirodha evam vadi mahashramanaye swaha. Om ye dharma hitu prabhala Vedam Kesham Tatagato Yavana Kesham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vadi Mahashramanaye Swaha. Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Vedam Kesham Tatagato Yavana Kesham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vadi Mahashramanaye Swaha. All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation of the causes as well is taught by the great seer. Profound, peaceful, elaboration-free, clear-eyed and non-composite. Such is the nectar-like Dharma I discovered. Finding no one is bad in this teaching, inside the dying universe. Sabchi to de luce duma chi, yusi tatu chushi komuke, sola shena gova minyuke, Bhima Nagi Laksu Nepa Jam. Beyond utterance, thought and expression is the perfection of wisdom, which is unknown, unseen, and as the nature of space. It is the object of apprehension of self-realized wisdom. To you, the mother of Buddhas, and the three lines activities. Vasan Jume Shera Parva Chain, Ake Niga Nante Momo, Soso Rande Yeshe Chuyuka. Dusam Gyalve Yumla Chakse. The Guru is the Buddha, the Guru is the Dharma, likewise the Guru is the Sangha. The Guru is the source of all, like good connectivity to the Guru. Rama Sandi Rama Shro, Veshi Rama Yesu, Kumi Shripo Rama Rama Yamla Chakse. By the sound of the violin drum of Dharma, each to get all things of misery. And the sea should kindly remain and defeat until the end of its path of the age of the earth. Churna Chinto Gali Ni, Senche Dungir Kaki Che, Eva Deva Samir Su, Churna Dekin Chuksu So. Buddha does not watch the negativities of things, rather they remove the NC's blind eyes. His spatial realization is not transferred to them. It is like reaching the foot of suchness that things are liberated. Tonam Depa Chuni Mitu Sheni, Dore Tunge Chagi Misela, Yeke Topa Shenga Kumite, Chuni Depa Shenga Turbashi. With holy hands I seek the Buddha from all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all the living entities. Chonam Sungi Sangela, Temo Jakti Sulai, Senche Tunge Muntonga, Chuni Lume Bhaktu. If you are attached to this life, then you are a spiritual practitioner. If you are attached to samsara, you have no renunciation. If you are attached to your own self-interest, you have no bodhicitta. If there is grasping, you do not sacrifice. Sedila Shena Chöpa Min, Porva Shena Nijun Min, Ranula Shena Jansen Min, Jimpa Zuna Tava Min. Turn to page 14, page Vishakani Buddha. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one God beyond the four destroyer, completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Subhata in all the worlds, being guide human beings to be tamed. Teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, who is one. Appear from the Shakya, I prostrate, make offerings and cooperate. When you were supreme amongst humans, you were born on this earth, in face of 7 stripes and 7 and supreme in this world. To you who are wise and I prostrate. With pure bodies formed supremely pure, with sufficient like a Buddha's mountain, being that place of the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme science, raised like a spotless moon, all like gold clear and straight. Lastly, like you, the three worlds are one, incomparable wise one, the you are straight. The Savior having great compassion, founder having all of his time. The field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, the youth that the Bhagavata and straight. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the Lord, the one part, the sublime pure reality, the Dharma and pacified and constraint. Those who are liberated can also show the path to liberation, the holy faith qualified in realization. Who are removed from the moral sex, the youth as Dharma and constraint. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind properly, this is the teaching of Buddha. A star, a visual aberration of flame of a lamp, an illusion of proper view of a dream of flashes light in the cloud, see conditions like the such. To these merits, present the things that are compulsory, subdue the four faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, further by the ways of aging, sickness, and death. Next, page 19, Subjugating the Threefold. Praise to the 17 Narada Masters. Born from the great compassion, aspiring to help all things, God of gods, you have attained the Savior's state of abandonment and realization, and you have dreams to the discourse of the realization. O evil one, the son of speech, I bow my head to you. I implore you at your feet, O Nagarjuna, most skilled in elucidating the suchness view of the vibration, the meaning of sutras, the mother of conquerors, to the profound reasoning of dependent origination. And God, with a conquest prophecy, you initiated the medical, the supreme vehicle. I implore you through your principal son, Bodhisattva Harideva, most learned and realized, who has crossed the ocean of Buddhist and non-Buddhist parent systems, and is a crown jewel among those of whom the Arjuna teaches. I implore you, O Buddha Palita, who has reached the supreme adept state and who is clearly elucidating Arjuna's intent, the final meaning of dependent origination, the profound point of mere designation as mere filter. I implore you, O Master Bhavanika, fully accomplished Samhita, you initiated a philosophical tradition, wherein by negating extremes of truly existing things, arising and so forth, you are overcome to verify knowledge and external reality. I implore you, O Chanakiri, who disseminated all the paths of Sutra and Tantra, you are most skilled in teaching the profound and vast aspects of the middle way. The union of appearance and evidence is spread to two extremes, by means of dependent relations that is mere conditionality. I implore you, O Bodhisattva Shantideva, skilled at revealing to the assembly of fortunate spiritual trainings, the excellent path of compassion that is greatly wondrous, through a multitude of reasoning most profound and vast. I implore you, O Master Achantarachita, who initiate the tradition of the outward middle way, in accordance with the training's mental disposition. Your words with the reasoning modes of both middle and logic, and you disseminated the complex teaching in the language. I implore you at your feet, O Kamashila, you who have displayed excellently the state of meditation of middle way view of the vibrations, and the union of tranquility and insight in accordance with Sutra and Tantra, flawlessly using the complex teaching of the language. I implore you at your feet, O Asanga, you who sustained by Maitreya, were words of disseminating excellently all Mahayana scriptures, and taught the vast path, and who, in accord with the complex prophecy, initiated the tradition of Mayana. I implore you at your feet, O Master Vasubandhu, you who are upholding the systems of the seven abhidharma teachers as well as non-duality, illuminating the tenets of Prabhashikas, Sautrantika, and Mayana. O Samavara, you are renowned as the second omniscient one. I implore you at your feet, O Dekhan, the logician, you who, in order to present the Buddha's way to evidence-based reasoning, open 100 gateways of the system of logic, and offered as a gift to the world the art of critical intelligence. I implore you at your feet, O Dharmakirti, you who understand all the essential points of Buddhist and non-Buddhist epistemology, from the mission in all the profound and vast parts of Sautrantika and mind-only findings of reasoning. You are most versed in teaching the excellent Dharma. I implore you at your feet, O Aryamukhasena, you who lit the lamp that illuminates the meaning of the ornament pages, wherein the themes of the perfection of wisdom, stemming from Asanga and his brother expounded, in accordance with the middle unity of existence and non-existence. I implore you, Master Haripatra, who were prophesied by the conquerors and expounded of the meaning of the mother, the perfection of wisdom. You initiate the excellent teachings on the perfection of wisdom, the three mothers, in perfect accord with the instruction of sages and prayer.
And Lord, you at your feet,
O Gunaprabha, most excellent in both integrity and scholarship, who having excellently distilled the intent of 100,000 disciplinary teachings, expounded the individual liberations of all, flawlessly according to the tradition of the Sarasvati school. I implore you to be, O Shakaprabha, supreme upholder of discipline, who reign over the treasure of the qualities of the three trainings, in order to disseminate the stainless in your teachings for a long time. You excellently expounded the meaning of the vast teachings. I implore you, O Yogadisha, you who have taught all the profound and vast traditions related to the words of the Buddha, within the framework of the path of the persons of three capacities, were the most high master disseminating the Buddha's teaching in the land of stones. And thus repeated these most lovely honors of the world, the excellent source of wondrous and insightful teachings, and I will bless so that my mind becomes vibrant and free, through the interior and made with the mind unwavering and pure. My understanding the truths of ontological reality, will we are setting out to the four truths we enter in deep samsara. I will lay firm the faith in the three jewels that is form of valid reason. May I be blessed so that the root of the path of liberation is firmly established within me. May I be blessed to perfect the training in renunciation, aspiration for liberation, the total pacification of suffering and exaltation, as well as in an uncontracted bodhisattva that is rooted in an infinite compassion that wishes to protect all saints and beings. May I be blessed so that I may easily develop conviction in all the paths, pertaining to the profound points of the perfection and Vajra very good. By engaging in study, reflection, and meditation, the meaning of the teachings of the great wisdoms, may I, in life after life, obtain excellent works that support the three trainings, and contribute to the teaching that equals the great wisdom, in upholding and disseminating the teaching of scripture and realization, engaging in exposition and meditative practice. May the members of all spiritual communities spend their time in love, reflection, and meditation, shine wrong like you. Through the proliferation of sublime masters, the great trees of the earth be purified for all mankind. Through the power of this supplication, may I traverse all the paths of Sutra and Tantra, and simply attain the state of conquest of visions, characterized by spontaneous realization of the two purposes, may work for the welfare of saints as long as space remains. Next, Architra Mantra, page 31. Om Gate Gate Aragate Arasam Gate Bodhisvara Om Gate Gate Aragate Parasam Gate Bodhisvara. Next page 32, 8 verses of mind. With a determination to achieve the higher state for the benefit of all sentient beings, which surpasses even the wish-fulfilling check, may I hold him dear at all times. Whenever I interact with someone, may I think myself as the lowest amongst all, and from the very depths of my heart, respectfully hold others as superior. In all my deeds, may I grow in my mind, and as soon as mental and emotional afflictions arise, as I engage myself in others, may I strongly confront them and avoid them. When I see beings of unpleasant character, oppressed by strong negativity and suffering, may I hold them dear for their rare and fine, as if I discovered a treasure. When others out of jealousy treat me wrongly with abuse, slander, and scorn, may I take upon myself the defeat and offer to others the victory. When someone whom I help or in whom I place great hopes mistreats me in extremely harmful ways, may I regard him still as my precious teacher. In brief, may I offer benefit and joy to all my brothers, both directly and indirectly. May I quietly take upon myself all the hurts and pains of my mind. May all this be modified by the stains of the 8 mundane concerns, and may I recognize all things as illusions, devoid of thinking be realized from knowledge. From my two collections, vast estates that I have amassed, from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief living Buddha of all those whose minds is aligned primary practice. Foundation of Positive Qualities. Page 39, Foundation of Positive Qualities. The foundation of positive qualities is a kind and perfect pure love, correct devotion to immense the root of the heart. By clearly seeing this and applying great effort, please best me to rely upon him in great respect. Understanding that the precious freedom of this river which found only once is greatly meaningful and is difficult to find again, please bless me to generate the mind that unceasingly day and night takes its essence. This life is as impermanent as a water. Remember how quickly decays and death comes. After death, just like a shadow follows the body, the results of virtuous and non-virtuous karma follow. Finding firm and definite conviction in this, please bless me always to be careful, to abandon even the slightest negativity and accomplish all virtuous deeds. Some silent splendors are unsatisfying and unreliable. Seeking them is a door to all suffering. Recognizing these shortcomings, please bless me to generate a strong wish for the bliss of liberation. Led by this pure thought, mindfulness, politeness, and great caution and awareness. The root of the teachings is keeping the Moksha vows. Please bless me to accomplish this essential practice. Just as I have fallen into the sea of samsara, so I have fallen under my great needs. Please bless me to see this, spring into free bodhicitta, and bear the responsibility of freeing my great needs. Even if I develop bodhicitta, but I don't practice the 3 types of morality, I will not achieve enlightenment. With my clear recognition of this, please bless me to practice the bodhisattva vows with great energy. Once I classify distraction to raw objects, and directly analyze the meaning of reality, please bless me to generate quickly within my mind stream the unified path of power and special insight. Having become a pure vessel by training in the general path, please bless me to enter the holy gateway with fortune paths, the supreme Vajra. At that time, the basis of accomplishing the 2 attainments is keeping pure vows and summit. As I become firmly convinced of this, Please bless me to protect these laws and bridges like my life. Then having realized the importance of the two stages, the essence of Vajrayana, by practicing great energy, never getting for 4 sessions, please bless me to realize the teachings of the Holy Guru. Like that, and the gurus who show the noble path, and the spiritual friends who practice in your long lives. Please bless me to pacify completely all outer and inner influences. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, may I enjoy the meditation of Dharma by completing the qualities of the stages and paths, and quickly attain the state of Vaishnava.
Mandala. Short mandala.
Page 37, short Dalotri. This crown, anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha field and offering. May all living beings enjoy this pure land. Sajipo ki joshi me totra May I be blessed that my mind is directed towards the Dharma. May I be blessed that my Dharma practice is on the proper path. May I be blessed that the path is free of flaws. May I be blessed that the flaws are seeking the light of exalted wisdom. Becoming frustrated with ignorance and grasp the true existence, please bless me to generate genuine renunciation, seeing all aspects of samsara as viciously reversed. Please bless me that my mind be more close to the precious bodhicitta that cherishes others more than myself. Please bless me to have an immaculate experience of the wisdom of happiness that does not see even a matter of intrinsic reality on the basis of understanding how things come into being by dependent origination to mere conditions. Please bless me that my mind be more close to the precious wisdom of the non-duality of bliss and emptiness. Eham Guru Ratna Mandala Kamaya.
Okay. Okay, the 5 minutes meditation. Okay, 5 minutes. Ready? Oops. It doesn't stop. Yes, the button. Where's that? No. Sound is gone. Okay, never mind. We will begin. Yeah, 5 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Last time we were on page 209 of the place of non-will bodhicittas. Oh.
Can you please go over the last line of 208? Moreover.
Okay. The last line of 208. Moreover, they being moreover meaning on top of all the pointing to the inconsistencies, between the two things, that is, things existing by the part of the mind, and then the true existence, things existing by the part of the mind, therefore things to be deceptively existent, and things existing by the part of the mind that does not have any inconsistencies with false existence, but is inconsistent with true existence. Okay, so this one thing. The next one is, if things exist by the part of the mind, and say if things truly exist and the discrepancy is still there, the discrepancy goes along with the true existence, then another contradiction arises. So that is moreover, second contradiction. Moreover, they being of the same nature become untenable. If things truly exist as opposed to existing by the part of the mind, then the two things, the whole and the parts, the same nature becomes untenable. That these two are the same nature. This is what we have to admit. But then, if the whole and parts exist truly, then the whole and parts, we say that parts is not the whole is not the parts with respect to this particular situation, the flower and its parts. So these two are different. At the same time, same nature. Same nature plus different. So now, if the mind does not have the power, if things exist truly, if the mind does not have the power, then the mind has no role to play in the existence of the flower and the parts. If the mind does not have the role to play, then it should be 100% from the object. And the two being different should be from the object, because the mind does not have the power. Two being different should be from the object. If the two things are different from the object, these two are entity-wise different. If these two are entity-wise different, then the establishing that the two are entity-wise the same, that is to be then neglected. Moreover, they being of the same nature, same entity, becomes untenable. You cannot hold to this idea, as the mind perceiving them as distinct natures becomes non-mistaken otherwise. Meaning that the mind sees these two things as parts, and the whole and the parts. The fact that we say whole and parts, these two are two different things. Two different things, if it is true, and the mind does not have a role to play, then it should exist from the object. From the object it should be true. From the object being true is known as entity-wise different. Different entities, different natures. So if these two are different natures or two different entities, then our earlier assertion that these two are the same entity, that is to be denigrated. Okay. The next. So now with this, we have done this passage, or this one page explanation of emptiness equal Svatandra. Now we're extending this to the other phenomena. Okay, let's see. Through this understanding, one refutes true existence with respect to through this understanding, one refutes true existence with respect to non-functional objects as well. So thus far, it is like, say, the rejecting true existence pertaining to the physical body, and now you can extend the same thing to the mental. How the mind. First of all, we have to identify. We have to have a little experience of the mind, and then they say those who are more keen on meditating on the nature of the mind, to identify the mind, which itself is a little tricky. But I would say that it can be done in two ways. One is by actually identifying what the mind is like, identifying meaning experientially. Number two is by the study of the Buddhist psychology, then you can identify your mind is like. Two things. So with this, of course, the study of Buddhist psychology will greatly help you to identify your mind. Otherwise, meditating on the nature of the mind itself and can be at times quite dangerous. Meaning that it's not that everybody can do it so easily. So some degree of the acuity of your mind, the dexterity of the mind is required, where your mind should be quite sharp to identify the subtler the aspects of the reality. And I don't mean the emptiness, even the mind per se. Our mind is so addicted to seeing gross things, solid things. And then when we switch our mind to the mind which is non-physical, I would say for many, 80% of the people, it can go down into like, say, the just like a mind in coma, or mind just slips into anything, nothingness, then the very gross, the tangible physical objects, in between there's a space, then subtler in space is the mind, and then subtler in the mind goes into vacuity, nothingness. So people from the gross, which we are so used to seeing tangible things, from there when we move to the space, it becomes a little difficult. Even the space that we have to introduce, we have to be introduced to that space that we can see. Otherwise, the moment I'm supposed to be looking at the space between me and the flower, I just see there's flower. Flower is so gross, and the space between me and the flower, this is subtler than the flower that I'm seeing. So my mind instantly goes towards the flower. So we need a little bit of training and introduction as to how there's a space between the flower to which your mind very spontaneously goes after. So there's a space in between. So only through learning we learn about this space. So this is subtler than the flower. And then the mind which looks at this space, that is subtler than the space. So therefore, it is not easy. So therefore, just directly teaching about identifying the nature of the mind is not really a good idea. Of course, you can learn it. To learn this, there's no problem. And one should know yourself so well, how intelligent, how smart your mind is, how active your mind is. And if your mind is not that active, the best thing is study these texts. And it's not that your mind is not active, meaning that it's just hopeless mind. This is not the connotation. Everything is dependent originated. The fact that a mind, 80% of the people, I would say, 80% of the people, their mind is not ready for meditating on the nature of the mind. But why 20 people, 20% or 10%, even 20% I doubt, 10%, maybe 5%, right? Why they have the capacity to meditate on mind, nature of mind, and why others do not have. As again is a dependent origination. So this limited number of people, 5%, the 5% of the population of people. So they are in the past lives or in this life exposure to the activity of the mind. Activity of the mind. Okay. Because of that activity of the mind and the opportunity to keep your mind active, and not only mind active and directed towards the workings of the mind. So the study of Acharya Chandra, this text, study Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist psychology, these I would say these are the best way by which to skillfully change, to make a mind more active, to think about the mind. Okay, so now let's say that we are able to identify the mind, and of course it is, as I said earlier, it can be done in two ways. One is by meditating, to experientially meditate on the nature of the mind, is one, and the other one is the study of the Buddhist psychology. And one thing which is different between the Buddhist psychology and Western psychology is that Western psychology, I would say that the great giants like Freud, they are gifted. These people are gifted with the intelligence and natural gift of the intuition. Amazing. When I first read about the Freud, I was so fascinated. Which we learn only then we come to know a little bit. He always said it more like intuitively. It's amazing. Such a power of the intelligence, the grasping power, the grip and intuition. It's amazing, amazing. But the point is that it's all coming from the more like his own intuition and his own the talent, the articulation, to really make it accessible to the ordinary people, to let them empirically feel, okay, yes, I could feel it now. That part is, from my point of view, that part is missing. Whereas Buddhist psychology, this is, you don't have to have any natural gift of intelligence like this. Just study this, and of course, one should be in proper environment. And just by reading it will not help you. You must have somebody to explain this. For example, like reading what Delhi is like on a map is very different from you sitting with somebody like, he's not here. Okay, Debeshla, Uncle, how many years here? Not in Delhi. Radhikali? 20 years in Delhi. Wow. Okay, let's say. So learning from Radhikaji where Delhi is, I don't know whether she knows all Delhi. She maybe, her place at Tibet House. Right? Okay, anyone who knows Delhi so well, like you'll be seeing on your palms. Radhikaji, you know Delhi on your palms? Kind of. Okay, which means she's confident. Okay, let's say learning from Radhikaji about what Delhi is like and learning from map is very different, right? Okay, so likewise, the Buddhist psychology, learning from somebody who already learned this, right? And learning from books is very different. So already learning from somebody who already learned this, and then with the help of the book to systematize the things, that would be brilliant. Okay, so even with this much, you can meditate on the emptiness of the mind. Not necessary that you should have the actual experience of the meditation awareness of the mind, right? And for those people who have already mind is a little bit activated because of the study of the Acharya Chandrakirti's text and the Buddhist psychology and so forth, your mind is already activated and you have the skill to see that your mind shifts the subject from the gross tangible objects, physical object, to the space, to the mind, and the moment the shift is happening, it doesn't go directly to the vacuity or to the nothingness. If it doesn't go there, if you could feel the difference, okay, space, a mind, vacuity, so experientially, okay, so your mind goes into blank, and suddenly you wake up, oh, what happened? So I was just distracted for the last few minutes, right? Whereas you're being aware of your mind for like 10 minutes, still you're aware of your mind. Yes, I'm 100% not distracted elsewhere. You come out of this and still you are very confident. The last 10 minutes you are really aware of your mind. And in someone else sitting like this with the same posture and more like daydreaming, your mind is being carried away by some thoughts. So there, that part is missing. So the point is that if once you are aware of the Buddhist psychology, you study the Buddhist psychology well, and then try to see that in your own mind, how the mind works, the sensory consciousness, the mental consciousness, then within the mental consciousness, the destructive mental consciousness and the constructive mental consciousness, and within this the constructive, we see what is the cognitive side, what is the affective side, and then the clarity, knowing. So all these, after learning this empirically from the Buddhist psychology text and the teacher, then it would be good if you can spend a little time to meditate on awareness of the awareness meditation. Right? Okay, that will give a whole flavor to what you've learned of the Buddhist psychology. Okay, so with this trend, I would say that then you are eligible to meditate on the emptiness of the mind. Otherwise, it's so difficult. In the first place, you don't find what the mind is. You don't find it. If you don't find what the mind does, how can you say this mind is empty of objectives? Empty of objectives is even subtler than what mind is like. Okay, so that way, then let's say that some of us, let's say that we are already exposed to the Buddhist psychology. On that basis, empirically you are aware of what the mind is like, not just not just a dogma. Somebody says that there's a mind and you have to accept it. Not like that. You have to empirically realize that. I think this is strange. Some people, they don't find difficulty in accepting something very, very dogmatic. Some people find it so easy to believe in such a self or whatever, and some people, they cannot even accept the mind. It's very strange, right? People who are initially trained in Buddhism, and they find it so difficult to accept what the mind is, different from the brain. To see the mind as different from the brain, actually is not that difficult. To see the mind and the brain substantially as different, and that the brain at the time of death is left behind, and this mind substantially different from the brain, it continues its journey just as the brain continues its journey at the death. The brain does not continue to the next life, but the brain continues. The brain cremated, buried, and then it goes into slowly the ashes, or is consumed by the worms, and then they become the food of the worms. Then the worms will to the poop job, and then that is consumed by the plants as the nutrients. So this is the journey of the brain. Journey of the brain. The brain becoming ashes or becoming the part of the soil by decomposition, the decomposition by the worms, then sucked as the nutrients by the plants, and plants eaten by the animals, plants eaten by the human beings, animals. So this cycle, food cycle, it becomes a part of the food cycle. So this is what I call as the journey of the brain. And substantially speaking, substance-wise, the moment the person dies, the brain dies. But substance-wise, it doesn't disappear, it does not annihilate, it continues. Not as a brain, but the basic constituencies of the brain, the molecules, and then slowly the form of the atoms disintegrates, and then they get, they take different forms, and it continues. It does not annihilate at all. Either what physics would say, either they change into energy, or they continue to be in the form of the material, the matter, like the atoms, molecules, and from the atoms it may change into electrons, protons, and the energy back to electrons, protons. But whatever the substance, it never annihilates. This is the law of conservation, right? Okay, so this is journey of the brain and journey of the mind. If the brain does not discontinue as a substance, as a brain it discontinues, but as a substance it doesn't continue. Likewise the mind, just as we apply the law of conservation of the energy or of the mass, whatever we may call it, pertaining to the brain, pertaining to the material part of the brain. And for the mind also, once we see that this is substantially different from the brain, then why that law is not applicable to the mind? So what is that factor which, when introduced, the mind annihilates? There's no third factor which has that capacity. So okay, so this is a very different subject, but the point is to realize that there's a mind, particularly if somebody is after studying Buddhist psychology, like this text, brilliant text, Acharya Chandra, this text, and then exposing oneself a little bit on the meditation on awareness, the mind, awareness on awareness meditation. So this, it is not that difficult to see that there is a mind which is different from the brain. And then the next question is, substantially being different and different, these two are different. So the mind being different from the brain, if you reach to that level, it's pretty easy. The next is, how can we see the mind not only different from the brain, but substantially different from the brain? Okay, this requires more studies, right? Okay, still the point is there's a mind, and the training which helps us to, helps us to achieve the goals that we aspire to achieve. So some people, they find it so difficult, which means that they either did not study Buddhist psychology so well, and on that basis, not being exposed to a little bit of meditation on awareness. Okay, so now let's say that here, whether the regular participants or the online participants now, see that, let's say that you have some exposure to what mind is, and you want to see the emptiness of the mind. Okay, so there, just as we see the self or the body of the person, the flower, the physical matter, as consisted of parts. The mind also, we can see that it is consisted of parts, temporal segments of the parts, temporal segments of the mind. Say today's mind, today I'm very happy because I'm anticipating for tomorrow Buddha Jayanti, and I'm anticipating for that, and taking the auspicious Bodhisattva vow, right? Okay, so many people will have opportunity to generate bodhicitta. It's amazing. I'm very happy today. Okay, I'm very happy today. Your body or your mind? My mind. My body is happy today. So what is today? Today is a time span which consists of 24 hours. The first hour, mind, happy mind. Second hour, happy mind. Third hour, happy mind. So we see that this mind, although it does not have a directional path, but it does have temporal paths, meaning that paths in time. Paths in time. Whereas for the physical, there are both paths, temporal as well as the direction paths. Physical has both. Well, mind has only the temporal paths, and the non-composite phenomena, uncomposite phenomena, does not have the physical paths, direction paths, nor does it have temporal paths. And the paths which the non-composite phenomena has is something different. Something different which we're going to discuss a little later. Okay, paths more in the context of the isolates. Okay, that we'll discuss later. Now for this mind, say, first hour mind, again is made of 60 minutes moments of the mind, 60-minute moments of the mind, 60 moments of the mind. Likewise, you keep going like this, we'll come to realize that the mind, you cannot, in the domain of the mind, you cannot find the subtlest moment of the mind, which cannot be divided any further. You cannot find that. Which means that even the mind will reject the partlessness pertaining to the mind. Once that is done, then we bring in the same analysis, the path and the whole. Path and whole, today's mind as the whole, and the first hour mind, second hour mind, and these 60 moments of the mind, or the 24 moments of the mind as the paths. And if you're keen on, say, like for us, it's very strange how our mind is tuned and accustomed to. Our mind to think of, okay, tell me, are you experiencing the present moment of the mind? Are you experiencing? Okay, are you happy? Are you angry? Huh? From your face, some of you may be a little angry, or you did not get breakfast. All right. Okay. Otherwise, you're happy. Are you sure you're happy? Are you talking about the happiness of 2016? Are you happy? This is my question. Happiness that I'm talking about, pertaining to you, is that related to 2016? No, why not? That was past. This happiness that we are talking about, is that the happiness 2019? Why not? That's yet to experience. So happiness for sure, what you experience, what we are talking about now, that I'm happy, that is a present moment of the happiness. You agree with me or not? Okay. This is extremely important, right? Be very realistic. Start from the empirical reality. Don't try to bring in the analysis right there. Start from the analysis will make sense only if the analysis we relate the analysis to the empirical reality. Don't forget it, right? Okay. So we're talking about, are you happy now? Yes, I'm happy now. This happiness that we are talking about, is this happiness 2016? We have to articulate the concepts. This is so important, articulation. Otherwise, people jump to the conclusion that present cannot be posited like this, right? Idea is, these people who jump to such conclusion, there's nothing wrong in it. But the thing is that they lack the articulation. If you lack the articulation, then you will never be able to destroy the self-grasping ignorance. In the first place, why the haziness is coming when we do this exploration is because we are slowly falsifying the self-grasping ignorance. To tell that the self-grasping ignorance, the belief that we have that things exist objectively real, the mind exists objectively real, this is deceptive. You're getting it? Okay, for that matter, how we can finally, you can do it in any ways you like. But the point is, be kind to yourself and be wisely kind to yourself. What do you mean by be wisely kind to yourself? Do things which will actually help you, right? Okay, so start from the empirical reality. From the empirical reality, okay, I'm happy now. This happiness that I'm talking about, for sure, is not about the happiness that I had 2016. Why? Happiness 2016 is past. I'm not interested. I'm not talking about the anything about the past. And this happiness that I'm talking about is that 2020. No, it is yet to come. I'm talking about the present. Okay, now it becomes very clear that I'm talking about the present happiness. And the present happiness, this happiness is what exists in time. What exists in time? Time, past, present, future is the present moment, right? So we have a very clear picture of the distinction amongst these three: the past, present, and future. Past is gone, future is yet to come, and the present is what we are experiencing. Okay, now what we do is, let's say the mind, let's say how a mind sees, okay, today I'm happy. Okay, we may get that feeling, today I'm happy. Okay, which is more obvious in your mind? Today I'm happy, or just this moment, right? Let's say like 1 minute or a few seconds now, I'm happy. Which is more prominently coming to your mind? Now, the few seconds or few moments right now, that is more vivid in the mind. Okay, let's say, whole my life, I did not go through, I did not have the whole my life. Overall speaking, I'm happy. Whole my life. We can get this. I don't think this is what the animals like cats, dogs, they cannot do that. From my point of view, they cannot do that. Human beings can do that, but not all human beings, right? Only if you are exposed to the philosophy, or some people who may have a natural gift of thinking about the whole life like this. Otherwise, generally speaking, we are just, with the entangled, with the whatever is immediate, right? Okay, now it's very strange, very strange. When you say, I'm happy, so this am means current, present moment. This present moment, how long is this present moment? 1 year? No. 1 month? No. Okay, speak your mind. Speak your mind. It doesn't matter. There is no hard and fast rule, right? We'll discover that. In fact, we'll discover that all answers are correct. Okay, what is this? I'm happy now. This I'm happy. This present moment of the happiness. This happiness of 1 year, or happiness of 1 hour? No. Happiness of the 1 minute? Okay, now you become happier. Happiness of 2 seconds? Oh, that's very close. Happiness of 1 second? Happiness of 1 millisecond? Right? Happiness 1 millisecond? Happiness of, say, 1 millionth of a second? The moment we go down to this level of the subtlety, 1 millisecond, our mind does not have the capacity to experience it. Right? Our mind, ordinary mind, does not have that capacity to experience it. Which means that what is that duration? What is that duration? For sure, it cannot be shorter than 1 millisecond. For sure, it cannot be like, say, the 1 year, I am happy now. Which means it's less than 1 year, less than 1 month, less than 1 day. Because even the whole 1 day is yet to be experienced now. Right? Not less than 1 day, but longer duration than 1 millisecond. So it should be between these two. But it should be a time. You agree with me or not? Okay. Now the point is that this experience of the happiness. Likewise, you can apply this to this experience of the pain, this experience of the loneliness. Right? Experience of the loneliness, experience of the neutrality, neutral feeling, experience of the difficulty with the friends, family, whatever, experience mental agitation. Okay, so this, no doubt, it exists in time. You are experiencing it exists in time. And what have you discovered? Is that with the time, what involves time, like the mind, does not have the partless segments of the mind. You can divide it as many times as you like. You can go ad infinitum. Which means that this same mind, which I think I'm experiencing happiness, I'm experiencing loneliness, I'm experiencing feeling low. So this feeling as a whole is nothing but made of millions and millions and trillions of tiny segments, double segments of the mind. If you don't believe, you must press the timer of your mobile or the stopwatch of the mobile, and just see how the time is segmented, divided into tinier segments. When it is divided into 1 second, divided into 10, we can hardly identify the numbers. And then when it's divided into 100, some of them are more complicated, sophisticated, divided into 100, right? Then our eyes cannot really catch the numbers. Like, it's so fast. Okay, so just as the flow of the numbers there is fast, our mind also actually flows at that pace, even faster, right? So this we have to gain some conviction. And as I said earlier, don't just intellectually think that it is actually happening, just actually press the stopwatch or the timer and then see how it works so fast. This is how our mind works so fast. Works meaning it moves so fast. Okay, which means that within this span, maybe like say 3 seconds of my mind, so there it is innumerable, say the 3,000 milliseconds in this span of the 3 seconds of my experience of happiness, my experience of feeling low, right? And the whole, I mean feeling low. And the segments, 1 millisecond of the mind, second millisecond of the mind, third millisecond of the mind, like this, and all these are parts. All these are parts. And the parts and the whole, this mind is a whole, and these individual parts, entity-wise, these two are one. Entity-wise, these two are one, right? Because you go to point to where this mind is, this whole. You go to mentally, you go to point to where there's the milliseconds of this mind. You point to the same object. You go to point to the same millisecond of the mind, first millisecond of the mind, say that this is on that base you say the whole mind, There's nothing wrong and it's fine, right? So we can point the same object for the reference of the two labels, which means that the whole mind and the parts, the mind in the form of the parts, these two are entity-wise one. But isolated-wise, these two are different. One is a whole, which is bigger, and one is parts, smaller segments, smaller and more comprehensive, meaning for sure these two should be these two come to a mind as differently. So these two are isolated-wise different. In other words, these two are different. Now, going towards the object, we see the one, we see the entity-wise one. Meaning that when you go towards the object more closely, you see only the parts, only the temporal segments of the mind, not the whole mind. The whole mind disappears. When you go towards the closer to the object, whole mind disappears. Then, to make sense of this whole mind, you have to come out of this. You have to go towards the subject on the isolates. On the isolates, the two things happen. The mind, today's mind, or my happy moment of mind now, and the temporal sequence of this particular parts. See, there's two different things. Only when these two things appear two distant things, then we can speak about this mind, the whole mind. So the whole mind makes sense only when we come to the subject. When you go towards the object, whole mind disappears and the individual tiny segments are left. So this is entity-wise one, and then the two things come out, only then the whole mind comes. That is isolated-wise different. So isolated-wise meaning is to the subject of the mind. If the mind has no role, if things exist, if the mind exists truly, then the mind has no role. It should be existing 100% from the object. The mind should have no role. Then keep aside the mind. Keeping aside the mind, whatever exists should exist from the 100% from the object. So, 100 from the object, we see that the two things as two. The mind, now, and the temporal sequence of the mind, these two things as two dissolve. Dissolve in what way? The overall mind disappears. So, if 100% of the object, then the overall mind has no role to play. It disappears. The concept of the overall mind disappears. Okay. Now, if this is the case, then just as this mind disappears, you subject the temporal segments, smaller segments, to the same analysis, segments and their own segments, their respective segments, and even these segments also disappear. Everything will disappear if the mind does not have the role to play. So therefore, to say that this overall mind exists, this can be done only by bringing in the mind having the role to play for the existence of things. So the mind has the power. Mind is given some power for existence of things, then this overall mind comes into being. So the mind having the power means it's a subjectivity. With the subjectivity means if the subjectivity is required, which means it's not 100% from the object, something is missing from the object. So what is missing from the object is actually substituted from the subject. So what is substituted from the subject means it is absent from the object. So from the object and from the subject, there's a discrepancy. So the discrepancy means it's illusional. So the illusion line makes sense the moment the subjectivity is introduced. The moment the subjectivity is introduced, illusion line concept comes into being. Right? So things exist subjectively, things exist just in this level, on the subjectivity, on the illusion-like nature. So subjectivity and illusion-like nature, they come to be synonymous, right? So therefore, everything operates where? 100% from the object or from the subject? From the subject. Only if the subject has the power to contribute to the existence of things, then things make sense. So therefore, subjectivity is the key. With the subjectivity is the key, then things exist on the illusion-like nature. Okay. Now, if you want more complication, If you have one more complication, then what I would say is real is unreal and unreal is real. Right? Real is unreal and unreal is real. This is a greater complication. Right? And you will not get it now, but note it down. That would be very helpful later on. Whenever you get something of this, not just intellectually, when you get a conviction that, wow, it's amazing, right? You're getting somewhere towards emptiness. Real is unreal, and unreal is real. Right? It's quite similar to what we said of the emptiness of objectivity of the object is the objectivity of the object. Very similar. But this is ironical. At the same time, it's true. It's very profound. Real is unreal, and unreal is real. Okay. Now, say this is how we understand the mind to be empty of objective existence. Mind to be empty of 100% objective existence. Mind to be empty of true existence. How? Without the inclusion of the subjectivity, without the inclusion of the isolates, so if purely from the object, the mind disappears. You're getting it? The mind disappears. Okay, this is so precious concept. Why I'm saying this is that for us, because of the self-grasping ignorance, which we have been addicted to and suffering in a very chronic form since time immemorial till now, this makes us very easy to believe in something solid, something objectively real. At the moment, next life, you come in contact with any teacher or any system which talks about something objectively real, something ultimate, something cosmic, we would just jump to this idea that this is amazing. So this is where this is nothing but simply the key indication of the remnants of our self-grasping ignorance from the since time immemorial, right? So now if you learn this, that only in the isolates things come into being, only through subjectivity things come into being, things make sense. In the absence of subjectivity, purely from the object, nothing makes sense. Everything dissolves, everything gets fragmented. If you come to know this, right? If you come to know this, not only know this, gain conviction in this line, it guaranteed that, of course, it's not that the moment you get it, you get some conviction of this, then the self-grasping disappears. Not like that. Gade, right? It's not Gade, Bodhi, Swaha. It's not like that. So it's Gade, Para Gade. You have the intellectual experience of emptiness, then the conviction in the efficacy of emptiness. Yes, things 100% they're empty of objective existence. 100% this conviction comes, but the self-grasping ignorance still operates very actively. And then how to reduce the power of self-grasping ignorance, the power of the operation of self-grasping ignorance is by habituating in this. The conviction that you already gained, try to practice more and more. Then, so with this, then in your next life, even if you encounter with some teachers or some traditions which talk about the cosmic reality, something like this, you will not slide down into it easily, right? So the point is, it's fine. You can believe in the cosmic or whatever is fine. There's no problem, right? The only thing is that we continue to be in samsara, right? This is the problem. Samsara, there is no place known as samsara. Our mind being under the force of involuntary pull and push, loss of freedom, that is samsara. Wherever the loss of freedom happens in Tibet House, loss of freedom happens in India, in the world, in first hotel, or in the street, Delhi heat, or the Switzerland now still may be very cold. No? Switzerland. Huh? But it's very cold day still, I know. Right? Spring, but by Delhi standard it's still winter. Yeah, maybe like 11 degrees centigrade. New York, I I thought 2 days ago it was 11 degrees centigrade. Right? Okay, what I'm saying is that, say Bangalore, why we don't really have to go to Switzerland. Bangalore is a beautiful place. Bangalore, say like which month? July, August, very pleasant. June.
October.
Huh?
October also.
October?
October.
Okay, let's say October in Bangalore.
Yeah.
Let's say October in Bangalore. But pull and push is happening, this samsara, right? It doesn't matter where you go. The point is, there's no one place known as samsara. The point is where involuntary pull and push. Loss of freedom is happening, this is samsara, right? Okay. So the moment you see something objectively real, the moment we see something objectively real, we think that this is objectively real, automatic pull and push happens. You have loss of freedom. The moment the loss of freedom happens, in front of Buddha, in front of Devata, it doesn't matter, right? Right? No, wherever the pull and push happens, involuntary pull and push happens, this is samsara. It doesn't mean that, if you put so much effort, eventually, say you're born right next to the Buddha, right? And then you are free from samsara. Samsara is afraid to catch you, right? No. So there, right in front of the Buddha, there can be samsara. Because samsara is not external. It is the loss of your freedom. Why we emphasize so much on the external is because with external, you are affected. Loss of freedom. Loss of freedom becomes very manifest with external factors. The point is, external factors are just indicators. The real samsara, the real loss of freedom is not external factors. It is the internal, the mind, which doesn't have the freedom to choose, freedom to stay relaxed. It is involuntary. It has to move. It has to move. That is the loss of freedom. Loss of freedom is misery. That is samsara. Right? Okay. So the point is, the moment we believe in something cosmic or something like this, the point is, it is not to denigrate any tradition. The point is, be kind to yourself and be wisely kind to yourself. This is the point. Be wisely kind to yourself. Finally, remove yourself of all the loss of freedoms. Gain of freedom. Gain the perfect freedom. Right? Be freed from the vulnerabilities. So what is vulnerability? External factors, or when I'm in Delhi, or the Delhi dust is terrible, I don't know nowadays. Right? But in the recent days, more dust, I don't know. Do you notice that? There's more dust there. And now the temperature is shooting up. And then today is what? 42? 42. And then slowly shoot up to 46. 46, we don't know even these aircons are working. We don't feel that even these aircons are not working. Right? So the external factors, Delhi heat, Delhi cold, and so forth, hunger, thirst, fear. So these external factors are there. Why we feel averse to this? Where these external factors are there, we feel that this is a miserable place. What do you mean by miserable? Which means that our mind, you could see that our mind does not have the freedom. It has to, I don't want to go through the excessive heat, I have to bear it. In 45 degrees centigrade, I have to bear it. Say, I don't want to go to excessive cold in the winter, I have to bear it. Right? And then you go somewhere and suddenly there's a power cut, and if there's some kind of riots happening, and all the shops are closed, and then the power cut, there's no water available, and then you're trapped in such a situation. For example, demonetization, right? So you're trapped in an airport. In fact, it happened to me, right? Airport, and then there was a lady who was selling the Maggies and these things. I was hungry. I asked for a Maggie. She so innocently made the Maggie, prepared it, and I gave the 500 note. She said, "No, we don't take it." Right? She's in problem. I'm in problem. Right? So I'm in problem because I was hungry. She's in problem because she already opened the Maggie, right? So these are the external factors. So these external factors, why we say that this, I don't want to be in such problem. I don't want to be in such situation. These situations let you experience the disturbance in your mind, loss of freedom. You can experience this, right? Now this loss of freedom is a matter of degree. It's a matter of degree. When it's so obvious, we see that. And there are subtler versions of that. And the subtlest version of that is seeing things as objectively real. The moment you see things objectively real, while it is not real, your mind, yes, there is something there. There's something there. There's nothing really there. Right? Say you want to take a rest. You want to take a rest. And suddenly you start hallucinating. You start hallucinating of a Buddha in front of you, right? Oh, there's a Buddha there. Your mind is trapped. There's no Buddha there. It's you are hallucinating. I'm giving the analogy. And then in the worst case, there's a tiger jumping. It's even more scary, right? So there's no tiger jumping there. It's just like your mind is creating it, and you see it as from the object. So then your mind gets stuck to the object. There's no object there actually. From the object, there's nothing there from the object, except for your mind creating it. But you see the object as not from the mind, it's from the object. So that your mind moves towards the object. Right? The moment you go towards the object, there's nothing really there. If there's something there from his own side, then your mind goes, it's fine. But there's nothing really there. It's pure hallucination. And your mind moves there, which means that your mind doesn't have the rest. It had to move. So this is involuntary movement made by the hallucination. Right? So this involuntary movement is created by seeing things as objectively real. So be kind to yourself and be wisely kind to yourself. This is the point. Right? Where there is self-grasping ignorance, where there's a perception of objective existence, where there's a perception of true existence, the loss of freedom automatically happens. Okay, so with this, now the next point is with the mind, you see the emptiness of the mind. Then you switch to the non-composite phenomena or uncomposite phenomena. Okay, let's read 209. 209, the second paragraph, which reads, okay, blaze of non-dual bodhicittas. You all have this? Okay, 209. Through this understanding, one refutes true existence with respect to non-functional objects as well. Non-functional objects meaning? Permanent objects, non-composite phenomena, or uncompounded phenomena, or objects as well, using similar reasoning. How? Even in the case of non-composite space, for example, let's say, what examples do we have for non-functional things? What examples do you have for non-functional things? Okay, now you have studied Buddhist logic, you have studied the psychology, you have studied the collective topics. Okay, now tell me. What examples do you have for non-composite phenomena? Just speak your mind. Very quick.
Emptiness of my mind.
Emptiness of your mind. Hey, from the collective topics, emptiness is not taught. But the emptiness is correct. Give me more examples from the collective topics. Isolates.
Non-composite space.
Non-composite space. Oneness. Differentness. Specifics, generalities, phenomena. Phenomena came from Dharamsala. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, good. It's quite successful. Okay, let's say now, and let's talk about the non-composite space, right? Non-composite space. Emptiness of non-composite space. Non-composite space, first of all, to know what the non-composite space is, we have to know composite space, composite, the compounded, same. First, let's talk about the composite space. Okay, anyone? What do you understand by composite space? Anyone? What do you understand by composite space? Very quick. Anyone? No? Visala? Composite space.
It should have the distance that is perceived between the subject and object.
Say it again.
The distance that is
The
perceived.
distance. The distance, for example, say the gap. The gap we see between yourself and the person sitting next to you. Yourself and the ceiling, yourself and the flower, the gap. There's always gap. So what is the unique feature of this gap? What is the unique feature, the distinctive feature of this gap? That it does not have the obstruction, right? So if there's obstruction there, then you will not freely move, right? And sometimes we think that there's no obstruction there, there's a space there, like goes to the mirror, and then you try to freely move and you bang against it, right? Whereas we freely move and you don't bang against, it means that there is a space. There's a space. So the unique feature of this space is that it allows you to move freely. It allows you to move freely because it does not obstruct you. It does not obstruct you. Because it does not obstruct you, it is freed of obstruction. There's an absence of obstruction. So this space between you and the flower, you and the ceiling, how do you know the presence of the space? How do you know this? With your eye consciousness, with your sense consciousness. Because that this is something which your sense consciousness could see. It is no doubt of the functional thing, impermanent phenomena, a composite phenomena, right? Because the permanent phenomena cannot be seen by the valid eye consciousness, right? So what your valid eye consciousness sees is what? Is composite phenomena. Composite phenomena, impermanent phenomena, produced phenomena, product. Okay. Now this space we can see with your eye consciousness. So this space which you can see with the eye consciousness, this is known as composite space. Right? This ordinary people, we don't have this concept. Now with the study exposure to philosophy, we know that this is something very empirical. It requires a little bit of exploration. One. Number two. So let's say that my mind, my hand. Okay, my hand. My left hand, what is in my left hand? A flower there, a pink flower there. Now what is in my left hand now? Nothing is there. We say nothing is there. When you say nothing is there, somebody who's exposed to philosophy, somebody who's exposed to logic, you will say that absence of the flower is there. Right? Okay, how many absences are there? Absence of flower? How many things are there now? Huh? Infinite things are there. It's not nothing there. Infinite things are there. Like what? Absence of flower, absence of apples, absence of table. Okay, let's say all you can think of. Okay, so now let's say absence of flower. So my hand, which ordinary people will see that nothing is there. Now you would say that there's an absence of flower there. So say when you go out and you tell the shopkeeper that I have something in my hand. You just stretch your hand, empty, and you ask the shopkeeper, you see something in my hand? Right? And shopkeeper said, nothing is there. You don't know, you're not seeing that, you are seeing the absence of flower. Right? Okay, which means that which is correct? Shopkeeper saying nothing is there in your hand is correct, or you saying that something is there in your hand is correct? Which is correct? Both are correct. Both are correct, right? If you say the shopkeeper is wrong, then it is shopkeeper will take you to medical hospital, right? Okay, so therefore both are correct. In what way both are correct? Tell me. How can these two things be correct at the same time? One says that there's something there, one says that there's nothing there. How can these two contradictory statements be correct? Tell me, anyone. Anyone. Very quick. This is very important, right? Yes, the Minokaji. Okay, conventional truth and ultimate truth. Okay. Okay, yes. Anyone else? Very good. Anyone else? How come that both are correct? Or how would you say that both are correct? In what way you want to say that both are correct? Anyone? Pujala?
We can resolve it by the concept of.
You don't have to resolve. You have to just say both are correct.
Both
in this
are
way.
correct because
How?
they are different isolate but entity wise same.
Wow. So the shopkeeper will even feel confused. So this. Okay, anyone else? Anyone else? How do you explain both are correct? How to explain both are correct? Yes, Madhuji?
Because one is a positive phenomenon.
Wow, even more complicated. Okay, thank you. Very good. One is positive, one is negative. Okay, anyone else? That even the ordinary people can understand it. Wow, this is amazing. That makes sense. Right? Anyone else? Isolate, positive, negative. Even I don't understand. Anyone else? This is Visala?
Because the eye consciousness, so the absence, so for the shopkeeper, nothingness, eye consciousness, we have to make. For the philosopher, absence of anything I can possess by my mental consciousness.
Wow,
Also be
that's
spiritual
amazing. Wonderful, wonderful. The shopkeepers, they don't have mental consciousness. Philosophers don't have the eye consciousness. Yes, that's true. That's true. Yeah, exactly. That's true. Okay, anyone else? No? Yes, Kumati. Now this is from Pune.
It's the lens from which we approach it. So if I'm talking at a very conventional interaction level, then nothing is correct. But if I'm looking at it from a logician's perspective, then the absence of a flower is right.
Okay, so which means Kumuji and the Minogaji both are saying that shopkeepers, you are not logicians, get away. Right? Okay, anyone else? Nisha? You want to try? Okay, anyone else? Yes, Piela.
No substance in both cases.
Wonderful. No substance in?
Both cases, nothing is there. Nothing is there, there's no substance, and the absence. If I'm looking at it, the philosopher, per se, says there's no substance.
Wonderful. So this is the answer, right? Say when the ordinary person just say that nothing is there, which means that implicitly what he's saying is that there's no substance there. There's no something as a substance there. You getting it? When the philosophers, the logicians, when they say that something is there, they're not talking about the substance. They're talking about, right? They're talking about a reality. This is a fact. If there's a flower, you would say no, right? If you say there's a flower, you say yes. Now there's no flower, he will say yes. Now absent of flowers, then he has to say yes, right? He has to say yes. Now he is transferred from the ordinary person to a logician. Because you're asking this question, he will be upgraded. So the point is that when the ordinary people say that nothing is there, what they are saying is there's no substance there. To say that, okay, absence of flowers there? Yes. Absence of flowers there? Yes. Absence of flowers, does it have a substance? Flower in my right hand, absence of flower in my left hand. Is there a difference? One has a substance, one does not have a substance. You're getting it? So the ordinary people, when they say nothing is there, they mean there's no substance there. For them to say something exists, not exists means in their mind they need some substance. You're getting it? Whereas for the logicians, they don't need substance to say something exists. They can speak about something existing by the part of the mind. You're getting it? By the part of the mind. That is not from the philosophy, the Madhyamika philosophy point of view. Even from a very simple logic point of view, by even without the substance, things can still exist, like the absence of flower and so forth. You're getting it? Okay, this is so important. Okay, now let's say my hand, it is empty of flower. It does not have substance. Absence of flower in my hand, does it have a substance? It does not have a substance, right? Okay, in a very loose sense, we're not talking about the Madhyamika philosophy. In a very loose sense, it does not have a substance. What does not have a substance? Okay, this is key. What does not have a substance? Okay, this discussion I would never do in the public area. Public area meaning for the public discourses, for the public teachings or public classes, I will never do this. Right? Now for you, I have to do this because without this, we cannot go any further. Now this is so important and you can understand it. Okay, now let's say absence of flower. Absence of flower, it does not have a substance. How do you know that it does not have a substance? Just, how do you know that there is no substance? Okay, let me see now who are the real logicians. Okay, how do you know that there's no substance there? When I say that there's something there, you said, yes, the absence of flower is there. Absence of flower, does it have a substance or not? How do you know that? How can you convince me there is no substance? It doesn't see anything. It doesn't see anything. It doesn't see the hand. It does not see the space. Yes, Linda? No, how can you convince me? I'm not exposed to logic.
It's from the mind, it's imaginative.
It's imaginative.
As opposed to a sensual object that's cognized by the senses.
So how can me, who's not exposed to philosophy, logic, can understand that this does not have a substance?
Emptiness of the flower is conceived by mind. It's not. Like
I don't know what emptiness of flower is. Absence of flower. Yeah. Okay, anyone? Going into Madhyamika, it becomes. We have lost. Okay, Jordana seems to be there. Jordana? No? Okay, anyone else? Anyone else? Yes, Tinsvasala?
Absence of a flower is a negation and negation of anything.
Wow. Action of flowers and negation. Negation is what? Negative positive. No, I have no clue what that is. Okay. Lokeshi?
Well, for an ordinary person, if you can't, our senses can't get it, we'll say that there's no substance in it.
Wonderful. So the yardstick to see whether this substance is not just ordinary as an ordinary person. You just ignore the ordinary person, right? You don't think about yourself as a philosopher or the logicians. You just ask the ordinary person, what is in your hand? Nothing is there. If it says nothing is there, which means there is no substance. You're getting it? There's no substance there. This is the yardstick, right? Okay, now we come to know that absence of flower, it exists, but it does not have a substance. How do you know that it does not have a substance? If it has a substance, ordinary people will say there's something there. The fact that ordinary people, they say that nothing is there, which means there's no substance there as the absence of flower. Absence of flower exists, but it does not have a substance. Don't forget it. Okay. Now from this, what we learn is any absence, not just only the absence of flower, any absence of anything should always be devoid of substance. Which means, okay, first let me do like this. Absence of flower does not have a substance. Because it does not have a substance, there is no substance to undergo change. Don't forget it. Absence of flower does not have a substance, one. Because it does not have a substance, there is no substance for it to undergo change. To undergo change means the substance undergoes changes. So there is no substance to undergo changes. It exists, but it does not undergo change now. It exists, but it does not undergo change. It exists, not undergoing change is known as permanent phenomena. So therefore, the absence of the space, absence of the flower is a permanent phenomena. Don't forget it. Once you know this, you can apply this to all kinds of absence. Absence of flower, absence of objective existence, absence of the house, absence of the good qualities, absence of bad qualities, right? Any absence should necessarily be a permanent phenomenon. You're getting it? Absence of obstruction, right? Okay, now going back to the composite space. Composite space between you and me. This composite space, which your eyes could see. Okay, what is there between you and me? Ordinary people will say, nothing is there. But the absence of obstruction is there. Absence of obstruction, because the ordinary people, they said nothing is there. This absence of obstruction, this does not have a substance. Because it does not have a substance, this absence of the obstruction, this is a permanent phenomenon. You getting it? It's a permanent phenomenon. So this absence of the obstruction related to the absence of obstruction, which is one of the attributes of the space between you and me. The space between you and me, how many characteristics are there with this space? Infinite. Like what? Emptiness of the, always emptiness. Okay, anyone else? Okay, what characteristics are there with this space between you and me? How many characteristics are there? Infinite. Like what? That this space exists. Number one, existence. That it is existent. That it is a phenomenon coming from Delhi, Tibet, also. No, Dharamsala. There is a phenomenon. What else?
Consciousness.
Huh?
Consciousness.
That it is seen by consciousness. That it is realized by consciousness. Cognized by consciousness. Very good. That it is that it is absent of tiger. Very good. Then that it is not 1 kilometer. This is absent of being 1 kilometer, more than 1 kilometer, right? Okay, it has innumerable, but we could not find. Although we say infinite, but we don't find even 4 or 5. Okay, let's say. So we see that this space, out of the infinite characteristics of this space, one of which is that it is absent of obstruction. So this quality of the absence of construction, the absence of obstruction, is known as non-composite space. Right? This is just a label given. The absence. Why this is non-composite? Because it is a permanent phenomenon. And it's also referred to as a space. So therefore it is known as non-composite space. The absence of the obstruction, which is the one of the characteristics of the composite space, is known as non-composite space. You getting it? Okay. Now we know what non-composite space is. After know what non-composite space is, next job is, okay, let's see now. Let's read 209. Second para. through this understanding, one refutes true existence with respect to non-functional thing objects as well, using similar reasoning. How? Even in the case of non-composite space, we have to accept that there are some forms where it pervades and not to others. Okay. And say there are some forms. Meaning that say this singing ball has the space inside, composite space, as well as non-composite space inside. Whereas say a solid rock, so in a loose sense, okay, according to physics, according to elementary physics, of course the space is there, non-composite space is there, but from how we understand things in a very loose sense, so this has a space inside, and whereas the solid rock does not have a space inside in a loose sense. So the non-composite space, it pervades the singing ball. It does not pervade the rock, right? So the non-composite space, overall speaking, as a whole, it pervades the singing ball. It pervades the hall. It does not pervade the pillar here. So there are things where it pervades, where it does not pervade. These are the parts. And the impression that we got, that we're thinking of non-composite space as a whole, which exists as an attribute of all the composite space. So that is the whole, and then the specifics, we go into the specifics, these are the parts. So now parts in the whole. The parts in the whole, so entity-wise, we may not speak of the entity-wise, but from the object side, these two are like the same nature, but from the subject, these two are seen as whole and the parts, which means different. We may not call it entity-wise different, as-wise different, but mentally these two are different. From the object side, we just point to the same object, right? So these two are, we see the discrepancy. From the object, there's only the parts, and from the subject there are two, the parts and whole, the two. So this non-composite space as a whole exists only when you think when you go towards the subject. Only if the subjective mind has a role to play, has a power for existence of this non-composite space, then the non-composite space exists. If you confiscate the power of the mind, if the mind does not have the power, if it is purely from the object, then from the object what is left is the specifics are left, the whole disappears. Right? So therefore, if you are to talk about the non-composite space as a whole, then you have to, it is feasible only when you bring in the part of the mind. The mind having a role to play for the existence of this whole. Only with this, then the two things come into being. The non-composite space as a whole and the specific moments, the specific parts of the non-composite space as the parts. Two things there. Only then the non-composite space as a whole makes sense. Okay, so if your perception is always 100% from the object, with respect to 100% from the object, then the non-composite space would make no sense to you. Right? So likewise, even the specifics of the non-composite space will not make sense to you, because they have their own parts. Right? Okay, this is how we should be going. This is one. Now with the emptiness, okay, emptiness is a very profound topic. So this is what we have been spending like, how many months? 16 months. Okay, more than a year we are spending time, but in monastic universities, they spend like at least 3-4 years, that too with with the incredibly good preparation of the debate skills, of the memorization of the text, of the understanding of the text, reflection, and with everything intact, still they study, reflect, and meditate for more than 3 years. Okay, what is the subject? Emptiness. So this emptiness is it must be a very sophisticated topic. Okay, so we get a feeling that there's the emptiness as a whole. Emptiness as a whole. Now, emptiness of this flower, it becomes a part. Emptiness of myself, emptiness of you, emptiness of reflex. Then you attach this emptiness to any special object, they become the parts of the emptiness in general. Again, you apply the same thing, emptiness in general with the specifics. Object from the object is 1, from the subject is 2. Only with the 2-ness, then the emptiness as a whole makes sense. So this is how we have to go. If the mind doesn't have the power to contribute to the existence of things, then it should be pure from the object. Pure from the object, specific emptiness is there, the emptiness as a whole, it disappears. You're getting it? So we see that from the object, 100% from the object of the from the true existence, the emptiness doesn't make any sense. In other words, emptiness doesn't exist truly. Okay, so this is how we do that. Okay, let's see now. Let's read further. Okay, we are on second paragraph. Through this understanding, one refutes true existence with respect to non-functional objects as well, using similar reasoning. How, even in the case of non-composite space, we have to accept that there are some forms where it pervades, that non-composite space pervades, and not others. Within that, some pervade the East. Where it pervades, the non-composite space of the East. Where the East single wall is there, non-composite space associated with that, non-composite space of the West, North, South, and so forth. Others pervade other directions. In the same light, ultimate reality, emptiness, ultimate reality also has many pervading parts, and has many parts in the sense of being objects of realization of various temporal moments of the mind. And ultimate reality also has many pervading parts, meaning ultimate reality of the flower, of the flags, of India Gate, of Tibet House, of yourself, and so forth. 1. Number 2 is this beautiful. Emptiness, same. You meditate on the emptiness of the flower. Emptiness of this flower. You are meditating on the emptiness of this flower. Same, you meditate on the emptiness of this flower for 5 seconds, let's say. Or let's say on the 1 hour. You meditate on the emptiness of this flower for 1 hour. So, emptiness of this flower as the object of the first hour mind, emptiness of this same flower as the object of this second moment of mind. Are these two entity-wise different or same? Entity-wise same, but entity-wise different, right? Entity-wise different. So therefore we see that entity-wise different means different, right? So emptiness of flower as the whole, and emptiness of flower, this flower, with respect to the first moment of the mind, with respect to the second moment of the mind, these are all the specifics, the parts. Then you again correlate the two things, the whole and the parts, apply the same reasoning. Okay. In the same light, the ultimate reality also has many pervading parts, and has many parts, and the first one also has many pervading parts, means that pervades the flower, that pervades the fruit, that pervades the pet house, that pervades the prayer flag, that pervades you, me, table, and so forth. This is one way of seeing the parts of ultimate reality. Another way is, and has many parts in the sense of being objects of realization of various temporal moments of the mind. The same emptiness being the object of the first moment of the mind, second moment of the mind, third moment of the mind. It's beautiful, it's amazing, right? Okay. This likewise can be extended to other non-composite objects. Establish that the whole is multiple parts, are the same entity as they cannot be different entities when going towards the object. This is tenable for a deceptive nature and not for a truly existent one. Entity-wise saying, right? If it exists truly, then the whole and the parts both should be on the object. If both go on the object, these two should be two different entities, cannot be one entity. This is tenable for a deceptive nature and not for a truly existent one. Thus, by rejecting true existence as done earlier, all phenomena are established to be empty of true existence. One establishes all phenomena empty of true existence, and then still they appear as objectively real or truly existent. Right? Once you realize that they are all empty of true existence, still they appear as true existence. When you come out of meditation, then you see that within your own mind, you see the discrepancy. Right? You see the discrepancy. Not only the discrepancy exists, the existence of the discrepancy and seeing the discrepancy, there's a difference. Right? Say, if I have no exposure to philosophy, I look at the flower, wow, it's so objectively beautiful. Right? So there I don't see the discrepancy. But the discrepancy exists. That it appears objectively real, but the reality is the reality and appearance. The reality is it is empty of objective or true existence, but appearance wise it appears as truly existent. There's a discrepancy existing, but I don't identify this. Right? Now later on, after studying this, now not only the discrepancy exists, I see the discrepancy, because in a meditation I see that this flower is empty of true existence, it disappears. Then when I come out of the meditation, again the flower appears objectively real. Then combining the two moments together, the first moment in the meditative state, you see the emptiness of the flower. Second moment, when you come out of the meditation, again you see the objective existence of the flower, true existence of the flower, right? One, in a meditative state, you see the emptiness of true existence of the flower. When you come out of meditation, you see the true existence of the flower. So there's a discrepancy which you are well aware of. You are aware of. Not only that it exists in reality, but you are aware of that. Once you are aware of these two discrepancies, the discrepancy between the two things, then what happens? Combining the two experiences, which two experiences? Meditative experience of the emptiness and the post-meditation experience of the appearance of true existence. Combining these two things, then you see things as illusion-like. You getting it? Okay. Okay, we're done with this. Tea break. Tea break will come back at 1:45.